right. What is up, everybody? Matt Modi here, joined as always for every Sunday with Andrew Kim, aka the ParlayDoc, going over every single game on today's Sunday slate. Weirdly enough, there's like 7 buys last week, and now the NFL has 0 this week. I don't understand what they're doing with the schedule, but we got a full slate of games. So, Andrew, how we doing?
Good, man. Good. So, I mean, you know what? We were talking earlier. There are some trash games, but I think you and I, we probably have dug up a few gems. So I'm pretty confident that we can still make some fun without forcing it on a potentially brutally ugly slate of games. But I think we could still make this fun, Matt. So.
Yeah, I saw not necessarily a stat's the wrong word, but I saw something that it's there's no game that has an over under. I think above like 45 or 46 and a half, which is crazy because sometimes you have games in like the 50s. And then we have 2 games that have the lowest over under of the year. So that just goes to tell you what a gross slate that we're expecting. It also goes to show you that it's just been a gross year of NFL football. Like scoring is down everywhere. But hey, in the garbage is where you can find gold. And I got to say, last week we hit our second DGen parlay of the year. Not quite as good as like the plus 20,000 one that you hit, but look, plus 1,600, it was great. I enjoyed it a lot.
I enjoy plus 1,600 winners as well. So for those of you who followed, and I know some of you did because I got some DMs and you guys retweeted us. We thank you, followers. We do strike gold once in a while, guys.
All you really need to do is strike gold like once a month, and that'll keep you profitable for the entire year. So, all right, what we're gonna do. I mentioned it. Go over every single game, give out 1 or more picks, or if we have a pass, that's also acceptable. If you have any questions for the games that we're talking about, go ahead and get it in the comments, or you just have a general comment as well. We will try to shout those out as much as possible. The first game that I have up here in the Texans versus Panthers. I'll let you go first. What do you have for this one?
Well, I'm just excited because look, regardless of what you think about the game, you get to see 2 of the top draft picks, the 2 top QBs coming out of the draft, battle each other. This is kind of what we want to see. So there is some spice to this game. So I'm not going to make this an official play for the show just because it's not fair. I caught the Texans earlier in the week in a look ahead, and I grabbed the Texans at -3. I believe right now it's unfortunately above that key number, and I think most places you're going to find it at 3.5. So. I'm not going to lie, I'd probably stay away at this point and wouldn't advise you to take a number I wouldn't take. So if somehow you catch it somewhere between now and kickoff, I am on Texans -3. I just I've seen much more consistency in Stroud, in his passing and playmaking ability, their consistency on offense versus what I've seen on the Panther side. So, that's why I just like the Texans. So I like the Texans -3. If you can't catch it at that number, I don't mind them as a little parlay piece. If you want to bring down the juice on some other 2-legger, keep it simple though. Don't go crazy because it's not like a lock on the Texans, in my opinion. So that's my main play on the main markets. And then one prop, this is a long shot, trying to spice up this kind of garbagey slate. Tommy Tremble, anytime touchdown. Okay.
Here comes Tremble.
Plus 1,200, guys. So plus 1,200. Meaning like $10. Okay, guys, not like, so for me, a unit is 100. So a tenth of a unit. So I'm telling you 0.1 units. Do not go crazy. But why? I'm not just picking some random guy. Texans are giving up lots of yards to tight ends, lots of receptions and completions to tight ends. So if there were any day for a Tommy Tremble to tremble into the end zone, and he's got one. It's not like he hasn't scored or found pay dirt this season. So that's my long shot play for this game. But main market, Texans -3. What do you got, Matt?
Sure. So yeah, these graphics, unfortunately, I can't do them all right before the show. So some of them are going to be outdated. For those of you that use Fliff, you can still get the Texans at -3, but it's at -125. So just depends how much you value that half point. I do have one of my pumped up props for this one. I have CJ Stroud 300 plus passing yards. So I got it at plus 400 at Caesars. I think actually you can get a better price at FanDuel last time I checked. Let me just confirm that. Actually you can get, so it's plus 430 on FanDuel now. So even a better price. So the Texans are coming off a bye. They're getting Tank Dell back from a concussion. And the Panthers defense already is terrible. They're missing like their entire defense. They're missing their best cornerback in J.C. Horn, their best safety in Jeremy Chin. They're missing their 2 starting edge rushers, and now Brian Burns is not practicing. He wasn't practicing. I don't know what his deal is for today. I think he's listed as questionable. Both starting safeties are also on the injury report, so it's just a banged up defense. The risk here is that the Panthers are like the worst rushing defense in the NFL, but the Texans are like the 3rd worst rushing offense. So it's like bad versus bad. I don't know who the advantage goes to there. Yeah. I think more likely is that the Texans are just going to do what they've done all year and pass the ball a ton. CJ Stroud has looked awesome. He's looked great. He's like decent weapons between Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and then like randomly Dalton Schultz has flashed, randomly Robert Wood flashed, and he's gone over 300 yards twice this year. I think he could do it again for the 400 odds. I really like that. I think for a parlay piece, it probably makes sense to do like 250 or 275 because you can get still plus money for both of them. But what I'm officially tracking for my own stuff is the CJ Stroud 300.
Yeah, you know what? And just going back to my comment, if there's a game he wants to show out for no reason, just because of ego and showing that, maybe I should have been the top pick, right? So I like it. I was just looking just to kind of augment your play. I'll dabble on the plus 300 on the 300 passing yard alt. I like that. And then for those of you who wanted a little safer, right now I'm just kind of browsing odds jam. CJ Stroud, his regular line over 237.5. If you want just the lowest line itself or total, is on Rivers, and you can get that at -115. So I might dabble in that as well, and also sprinkle on the alt. I like that. I'm gonna sprinkle on the alt. So,
all right, there we go. All right, next up, which should be a decent game, the Rams versus the Cowboys. So this didn't make my official video for Pumped Up Props, but I do like Cooper Kupp 10+ receptions. That's at plus 250 at FanDuel. This is basically just like fading like the betting of the opposite of what recently happened. Last week, Puka Nacua blew up.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp had his worst game basically since Matt Stafford's been his quarterback. So I think the pendulum's going to swing the other way. Also, they're playing the Cowboys, who have the ferocious pass rush, so they're probably just going to do the quick game. That's Cooper Kupp. I mean, Puka Nacua has been awesome, but to me he's a little more of like the zone beating receiver who you let the play develop and then he finds a soft spot, which Cooper Kupp can do as well. But in like a pinch when Matt Stafford's under pressure, he's just going to look for Cooper Kupp. He's yet to hit 10+ this year, which is the concerning part. But again, he's going to have his blow up games. Like he's had it with his yards. He just hasn't had it with receptions. I think that's going to come. He's looked great. It's one of those things where like Stafford just always looks his way except for last week. So again, it didn't make my like official video, but for plus 250, I like the Cooper Kupp 10+.
Gotcha. What do you think? I'm just curious because obviously, this is Dallas Cowboys are still a big market, and a lot of radio chatter has been talking about this game, and just everyone I hear on national radio and even like local is just like going back and forth on the spread. What do you think about the spread? Too large of a number to lay? Cowboys are being disrespected. They had that bounce back game. Would you even touch that spread at all, or what would you at least lean? I'm curious.
So right now it's actually even more in favor of the Cowboys. It's like either 6.5 or 7, depending on where you look. I would lean the Rams just because, I don't really trust either of these teams, but
sure,
I don't trust the Cowboys. And the thing with the Cowboys that it feels like they either just annihilate whoever they're playing or they lose. They don't have like the win the close game, which I know they just did against the Chargers, but the Chargers are just a totally different animal. I would lean towards the Cowboys. I don't have anything on the main line. I'm not super confident in that. Sorry, I would lean towards the Rams at the 7. I'll take the touchdown. That's what I meant to say. I would take the touchdown. But I'm not super confident in that, I will say.
Yeah, oh God. I do think the Cowboys, as much as I've even dogged on them, they are more talented than people, give them credit for. I don't know that the Rams can keep up with them all game if that, Cowboys actually play up to their potential. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anything on the main market. I'm not going to touch it because the Cowboys, I just don't trust them. I put them in the Chargers category where I always get screwed by them when I think that they should perform. But I'd probably barely lean Cowboys on the spread, but I'm not going to touch it. My only play is, and I know it's a high risk play, even though it's not high odds, is man, it's hard for me to believe that Cup is not going to find the end zone sometime soon. I mean, I mean, in the recent game, so plus 155. If I told you last year you were going to get Cooper Cup plus 155 as an anytime touchdown, would you believe those odds? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
I think at this juncture last year, if my memory serves me correct, I mean, you were getting a nasty minus 110, minus 115 for a touchdown, which is high risk. So, man, I'll take it. I know I said this even last week, I think, and I got burned, but man, how long can you keep this guy out of the end zone? So my one kind of juicy prop, and it is juicy for Cup, relatively speaking, is Cooper Cup just to find the end zone and get a touchdown, plus 155 on FanDuel.
Has he really not scored yet this year?
No, he scored, I think. I'm just saying okay. He hasn't scored at the rate that you would expect, like a stud like him since coming back. So yeah, I just, it'll be a tough task against, a Dallas D, but man, I have faith that this guy's such a stud that he's going to find pay dirt either this game or next game. So I'm just going to roll with Cooper Cup just to root for him to score today. So
sure. Yeah, I like it. All right. Next game, Vikings versus Packers. What do you got on this one?
I'm going to keep this simple. I'm not going to lie. Every sharp supposedly is on the Packers, and they're on Packers or Packers spread. I mean, it's basically close to a pick 'em at this point. Oh man, I actually was high. So I'm not riding the high of the Vikings. So I want to be clear. I'm not getting swept up in the Addison Kirk Cousins connection. Like, it's me more being disappointed in the Packers. Like I thought they showed more promise, and I actually had hopes that they had higher potential this season with Jordan Love at the helm. I've been really disappointed. By the Packers, by their offensive output. They're terrible. So it's not even about last week's Vikings performance, honestly. I'm actually surprised at where the odds are right now, that I just don't have faith that if, Cousins has one of his like huge, 300 passing yard games, that they can actually keep up. And so I'm just going to keep life simple. And everyone's talking about the weather. I looked at the weather for Green Bay right now. It's gray, it's cloudy, it's not warm. It's actually not that windy. I don't actually see that much precipitation. There's been all these articles, even on Action Network, about nasty weather. You should bet on Akers and Addis. I'm like, really? You want to bet on them to run? I understand it if the weather was really going to be bad, but I feel like we keep overreacting to weather conditions. So I'm going to assume the weather's not bad, and I'm just going to think that the Packers can't keep up with the Vikings passing game, and I'm just going to go Vikings money line, minus 117. Very simple. Not going to overthink it. I'm just going to pick a team, Vikings money line.
Let's see. I use RotoWire for this. They said it's cloudy, expected to like 8% chance of precipitation and light winds. So yeah, 8%. I don't really think it's
8%.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't really think that there's any chance that the weather is going to mess anything up on this one. I was searching. So what was your official pick? Was it the Vikings?
Vikings money line. That's it.
Yeah.
Vikings money line.
I have the same thing. I have the Vikings. I don't understand. They opened up as the underdog, and I felt like I was taking crazy pills. I was like, has nobody watched the Packers? They've been terrible for the past 3 weeks. They got blown out by the Lions. They got just totally embarrassed on Thursday Night Football in primetime. And then they lost to two of the worst teams in football, in the Raiders and the Broncos, in back-to-back games. And the concerning part was that they played two of the worst defenses in the NFL the past 2 weeks, and they couldn't do anything on offense. And then it's like the Vikings are going in the opposite trajectory, where they literally just beat the 49ers in primetime in a game where Kirk legitimately looked good, not like an empty he had that one lucky touchdown where it should have been intercepted, and then Addison ripped it out of the cornerback's hands and scored. But like he that wasn't like it was a bad throw. It was just a 50-50 ball that his receiver made a play. Like, he looked awesome. And they're playing against a Packers team that has a terrible offensive output recently, that are living off of like their week 1 and 2 performances in terms of advanced stats. Like DVOA, they've just been dropping each week. And their defense is like 27th in DVOA or something like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand it. I felt like it was a rat line. Right now, you can get them at -1, at -110, pretty much anywhere. And like it did open up with the Packers favored, and now it's moved in terms of the Vikings being the favorite. So I guess I didn't realize that sharps were on the Packers because line movement has been the opposite. But like, I just didn't understand what I was seeing. Like, I had no, you cannot tell me why the Packers should have been favored against the Vikings, or even why it should be like a pick 'em. Even if you're giving like 3 points to home field advantage for the Packers, it's like, that's like an old school stat that hasn't really bared itself out. So
yeah,
this was like something I was very confident in for the 1 p.m. slate was the Vikings. I took them at -1. That's actually at -110 now, so it did move in the opposite direction. But I'm totally with you. I don't understand why.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Why people are on the Packers on this one. All right, we can move on. Saints versus Colts. This is another pumped up prop that I didn't make my official video, but I did lock in this morning. Alvin Kamara, A+ receptions. Here are his reception totals since he's returned. 13, 3 in a game in which they won 34-0. So clearly the outlier. 7 and then 12. Derek Carr has become like incredibly unwatchable this year. He's been terrible. And all he does is just check it down to Alvin Kamara. That's all he does. Alvin Kamara got like 15 targets. He's ridiculous. And it's like high percentage in terms of completion throws, which I like. And it's like kind of similar with the CJ. I guess maybe I'm thinking of something else, but it's like until Derek Carr shows that he's going to do anything other than check it down, I'm just going to ride Alvin Kamara receptions. So that's what I have. I put 3/4 of a unit. And I put 75 on the 8+. It was 265 at FanDuel. So what do you got on this one?
It's funny you say that. I was independently on Kamara over 5.5 receptions, so he needs 6 receptions plus 118 on FanDuel. But I like it. I was debating it, so now that we're talking about it, I'll ride with you on the alt on getting 8 just to pump up for like a ladder play. I got 2 other plays on this probably brutal game. I have Derek Carr. It kind of correlates with this. Not that I have faith in Derek Carr. I have faith he will throw 8,000 checkdowns to Kamara. So I have Derek Carr over 33.5 pass attempts. Keywords, not completions, pass attempts. Okay. He has had, this is absurd, man. Okay. I want you to listen to this. I'm going to go backwards in the last 5 games. So the line I'm picking is over 33.5. He's had 55. I'm not joking. 55. And then the next game, 50. So 55 and 5-0. Then he went under 26. And then prior to that, 37 and 18. Okay. So 55, 50, 26, 37, 18. So I don't think I don't think that's crazy, because if I'm thinking he's going to, I'm not even talking about receptions, but if he's going to throw 10 times to Kamara, it's almost a third of his pass attempts right there.
Yeah.
I do think you can pass on the Colts, which means a few more sustained drives than he's probably typically used to. He will fizzle out in the red zone like he always does, but I think he's going to be able to move it for those first 30 to 40 yards comfortably this game. And because he'll fizzle out in the red zone, you will get several drives where they feel pressure to pass. So Derek Carr, that one I'm slamming for a full unit, -129 on Caesars. That is one of my favorite plays of this game. Derek Carr over 33.5 pass attempts.
I like that a lot. I will ride. As you were talking, I was locking that one in. I like that one. And I feel like I'm guessing the one where he had super low passing attempts was against he had 26 against the Patriots, a game in which they won, like I said, 34-0.
Yeah.
So that's like that game is a clear outlier.
Yeah,
the Green Bay one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, he's really hit it 3 out of 4 times when you throw out that outlier game of what they didn't need to pass, basically.
Sure. Yeah. No, I like it. I was locking that in as you were talking. All right. Next game, Patriots versus Dolphins. I'll let you go first. What do you have on this one?
Man. I don't want to touch that number. I'm not going to lie. So I'm not going to do anything on the main markets. I mean, look, the Patriots are so anemic. I don't buy it from that crazy comeback win last time. So, but that's just too large. I would say Dolphins in some kind of teaser or Dolphins in some kind of money line parlay. Fine. I don't see the Patriots winning this game, even though the Dolphins are banged up with their offensive line. I get it. It's a concern, but I don't know how you're going to score. I just don't. I'm sorry. That was a fluke game, in my opinion. I don't see the Patriots as a well-oiled machine. I have one prop. I do really like it a lot. If there's anything you know about Belichick, even when he's got nobody to use, he always schemes it up and says, anyone but your wide receiver 1 has to beat us. anyone but your wide receiver one has to beat us. Whether it's successful or not, that's a different story, but that will be his scheme. So I'm going to go with wide receiver number 2. I'm going to go Jalen Waddle over 60.5 yards. I really wish I was so lazy. I saw it last night. It was at 58.5. Of course, because of laziness, now I've given up 2 crucial yards, but I still like it. I do think that they're going to see Waddle open quite a bit because of all the focus on Hill. So Waddle over 60.5 receiving yards, minus 110 on FanDuel, just because of Belichick.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, there's like that old adage that like he'll always take away your number one. And that hasn't been like always the case, but yeah, I'm not going to talk you out of that. I actually do like the Patriots on this one. It's like the line has shifted a little bit since I made this graphic. It's in less favor of the Patriots now. It's mostly 8.5, depending on where you look, or you can get the Dolphins -8 if you wanted to. I got them at Patriots plus 8.5, minus 108 at Sport Trade if you're in Colorado or New Jersey. If you are not, excuse me, you can get it at minus 115. I actually do buy that they figured some stuff out on offense last week against the Bills. I feel like you can kind of use that momentum to carry you forward with just, I don't know, getting the tight ends involved, a little bit of the shorter pass game, not as gross as they were at the beginning of the year when they had those 2 games where I think they got shut out basically in 2 straight games. Like you said, the Dolphins are banged up on the offensive line, and I know that they're getting some key pieces back on defense, but this just feels like a game that the Patriots are able to muck up. The Dolphins, they're 5-2. The 2 games they lost were against basically the only 2 good defenses they played this year, in the Bills and the Eagles. But these 2 teams did play in week 1, and the Patriots played them tough. Dolphins won 24-17. So I think wouldn't be one of those games where the outcome is never really in doubt, but the Patriots are just kind of able to hang around. Maybe like in the red zone, they get 2 stops, and the Dolphins have to kick a field goal, stuff like that. So this isn't something that I actually officially locked in. So I guess I'm not going to say that I actually bet it, but to give a prediction in this game, I actually do like the Patriots plus 8.5. I don't have any player props on this one. Too many guys, 2 mouths to feed on the Dolphins. I didn't know who to take. And on the Patriots, it's like the opposite. They have no mouths to feed. So I didn't know who to take. So I just rode with the Patriots straight up, but admittedly not super confident in that one.
Yeah, but I hear you. Right, it's a large number. So if you caught them earlier at plus 9.5, that's a great number to get.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better. All right, next up, the Battle of New York, Jets versus Giants. I'm sorry, I'm taking the over 30. You can get it at 34.5. It's just too low. It just is simply too low. Tyrod can make some stuff happen. So right now I got the total at 34.5, minus 115 odds at FanDuel. And I did that today, like when I was doing my notes, and make sure that's still available.
It's still there. Actually, it's still there. It's still there.
Now it's minus 105 at Caesars. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just too low. Like it's the lowest total of the year. Tyrod can make some stuff happen. Zach Wilson can throw multiple interceptions that possibly can be returned for a touchdown. This game just screams wacky weirdness. It doesn't scream 3 and out over 3 and out. Like I think crazy stuff's going to happen in this one. 34.5 is just simply 20-17 cashes this over. So with a total that low, I will take the over. And I locked in the Jets money line at minus 125 or 35 earlier in the week. I wouldn't touch it right now in the minus 160s. I also wouldn't, -3, I also don't love because again, this just screams wacky, ridiculous game. So at this point, I wouldn't touch any of the money line or the spread. I don't have any player props in this one either. But I actually did take the over. I did officially lock that in. So that's my play. What do you got for this one?
It's funny. That's literally it. My only play on this game is the over because it's just too ridiculously low. And again,
exactly.
Do I have faith in either team's offensive efficiency? Of course not. But oh my God, I can see this game just being a mess. A Jets defensive pick 6, Jets fumble, and then the Giants get to start in the red zone. This is the type of game I expect, and they will fumble their way into covering and scoring like 39 points. I don't know, something ridiculous, 38 points. Like it's going to be a nasty game. But God, they're going to fumble into scoring over that total. So that was my only play. It's funny that we both were like, this is just too ridiculously low.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, enough of that one. Next up, Jaguars versus Steelers. What do you have for this one?
Oh, okay. I got Steelers plus 2.5, minus 110 on DK. I'm not going to go crazy, just a quarter unit, just to have a taste. So $25 for me. T-Law, still not fully healthy, banged up. There's not much wind, but it's going to be rainy, and it's supposed to be raining at least for the first half of the game. So it just smells like an ugly, ugly Steelers game where they could win. I know it's that old adage of Tomlin, rah-rah, underdog. But I'm just saying, it's legitimately, I have reasons to believe that this is going to be a brutally nasty game, especially if T-Law is not fully healthy. I got a couple player props that I like. There is a boost on DraftKings. Only $25 is my max, so it sucks. But ETN to score at plus 150, I'll take that. That's great odds for a Steelers D that has not been totally stout against the runs, and ETN's just been a beast. So
yeah,
I'll take, even if it's $25. That's value, guys. So you got to like squeeze the value where you can find it. $25 plus 150. Two other props I like. It's going to be nasty on this one, but Kenny Pickett over 215.5 yards in the drizzling rain. Okay. He has actually covered this, surprisingly. If I said that to you, would you think he's even covered 215?
He's been terrible. I do know that he's had like probably 3 broken 70-yard plays to George Pickens. So that's probably why he's cashed it.
Yeah. So he's actually covered this. God, I'm shocked. 4 out of the last 5 games. Okay. And on top of that, the way that the Jags play defense, they're willing to give you those cheap yards. They're willing to give you the cheap yards. They're going to be better against the run. So the fact that they're willing to give you those, I do think he's going to get a lot of checkdowns. So I'm also going to go Jaylen Warren over 18.5 receiving yards. Not much, just like 3, that. Just 3 of those. That. Okay. And because they still consider Najee like the go-to, like a lot of books don't offer these like alt yards on him. So I'm also going to go Jaylen Warren alt receptions. Okay. And if you look, there's been one game where he got 6 receptions. There's been a couple others where he got 4, I believe. So I'm going to go, in addition to over 18.5 receiving yards at minus 110, alt receptions, 5 receptions plus 240, 6 receptions plus 430. What did Kamara do against the Jags last game? He had like how many? Effing like 11 or 12? 12. So he's that's what I'm saying. They're willing to give you the underneath stuff and the screen and bubble plays or whatever. So Warren at 5, Warren at 6, he's done it before. So I'm going to go ladder, pumped up props, going Matt style here. Warren, 5 receptions at plus 240, 6 receptions plus 430. I'm not going to go above that because he's never exceeded 6. So I'm going to stop the ladder there and not go too crazy.
I like it. I also have a pumped up prop in this one. It's not one of the ones that you mentioned, but it's George Pickens, 90 plus receiving yards. I admittedly didn't know about the weather when I locked this one in, so that scares me a little bit. I locked it in at plus 340.
Drizzle.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Drizzle.
Hopefully it'll be fine. So you talked about like Kenny Pickett, how he hasn't been bad. That's kind of the same thing with Pickens. He hasn't been terrible, despite how gross the offense is. And I feel like with Pickens, he's very boomer bust. So it feels like every single play for Pickens is a deep shot down the sideline that he maybe gets 2 feet in or maybe doesn't. It's okay. Yeah. So he's gone over 100 the past 2 weeks. He also went over 100 in week 2 against the Browns, who literally have the best passing defense in the NFL. Through 6 games so far, he's had 2 bad games and he's had 4 good games. And in 3 of those 4 good games, he hit 90 receiving yards. Only one of the times he went over his mainline prop did he not get to 90, and he had 75. So the Steelers offense is still pretty gross, but the Jags, despite, if you look at like their advanced stats in terms of DVOA, they look good as a passing defense, but they give up a lot of just raw numbers. And it's pretty much exactly like you talked about. They're willing to give up the easy completion to not get beat deep.
Yeah.
In Pickens, he's a deep threat, but he's also just can take a screen to the house. The Jaguars overall give up the 2nd most passing yards per game, and they average the most passing attempts against them as well, which I don't really know what to make of the attempts because that a lot of times depends on just game script. But regardless, teams are passing the ball a lot on the Jags. And for what it's worth, Props.cash has his projected receiving yards. This is Pickens at 90. So literally at the number that we need. So that was my second pumped up prop, Pickens 90+ receiving yards.
Gotcha. Nice. I like it.
All right. Next game, Falcons versus Titans. Perfect time to answer this guy's question. Anybody like 10 Tennessee straight up? If you do like the Titans straight up, let me just pull up the main line here. Money line looks like it's best offered at plus 120 at a couple places. Barstool, Betfred, Sport Trade. If you don't have any of those, it's best offered at plus 118 at Caesars. I don't have anything on the main line. I personally would not touch Tennessee straight up. You tell me to bet on Malik Willis or Will Levis?
It's going to be Levis. It's going to be Levis today. Levis. I don't care what they say. That's BS. It's going to be Levis. He's been getting more of the reps in practice. So.
It probably will be Levis. But you're telling me I'm going to bet on a guy that eats bananas like a popsicle? He literally sucks the banana out of the peel have you seen that video?
That's weird. It's really weird.
If anybody watching this has not seen that video, it is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He literally has like a banana that's overdue that we normally become like really just like basically soupy. He literally eats it like a popsicle. He puts his mouth. This is going to sound very sexual, but he puts his mouth over the peel and then he just literally slurps up the banana into his mouth. It is the nastiest thing. And he puts mayo in his coffee. There's no way that guy's a good quarterback. So I am not taking anything in terms of spread or money line. I'm also taking the over. It is a gross 34.5 minus 115 at BetMGM for the same exact logic. It's simply too low. 34.5 is not enough points. So for both gross games of the week, I'm taking the over for the sole reason that it's just simply too low. That's all I got.
Oh man, this one. I don't know, man, about that over. Like I have zero faith in the Falcons at this point. I was so excited about Bijan Robinson entering the season. And then I'm like, wow, this team doesn't know that they have a stud athlete on their team. And
I think Arthur Smith, is so stubborn that he refuses to give Bijan Robinson the ball because he knows everybody wants him to.
Yes.
So he's just going to be a total D-bag about it.
Yep, pretty much. So I do have the Titans just straight up. I have the Titans.
What bold move, my friend.
No, I don't think it's that bold. They're trash. I actually think the Falcons are worse trash. It's like there's no logic in this. And yes,
it's a lot of trash.
I'm not a huge the whole Vrabel at home as an underdog. Blah blah blah. No. Just I actually think that this is how bad the Falcons are on offense. On offense, super hot. The Titans are total trash too. Don't get me wrong. I just find the Titans to be less trashier. I've not much logic behind this. So I am going to take Titans very little, quarter unit, $25, plus 120, like you said. And I am going to dabble because I'm an idiot. And this is why you have me on the show, because I make some idiot plays. Okay. I am going to take Will Levis anytime touchdown. Okay. The best line you're going to get is plus 700 on PointsBet. I hate PointsBet because I'm limited to like $3.99 on how much I could bet on every prop. So I'm going to have to go on FanDuel at plus 650, but you can get it plus 700 on PointsBet. Why? Because he is not, like you said, I don't disagree. I don't think he's ready to be an NFL quarterback. I mean, if you go even watch him back in his Kentucky days, he gets shaky in the pocket. I mean, he whips that thing like a fastball because he was a dual threat athlete. He was a baseball player. So he chucks that thing like he has to throw it 100 miles an hour every damn time. He's got no soft touch. He's got happy feet, but he does have an arm. He does have a cannon. And because of that cannon, I think he will find some guys here and there, even though the Falcons secondary is not the worst in the world. But I think when they get to the goal line, his happy feet will have him scramble at some point. And he's a big dude. He is a big dude.
Yeah.
Rookie QB, happy feet. Maybe everyone's going to stack the box versus Henry at the goal line. So I think maybe he's got a chance to trot in over on the edge, jump one and over to play hero because he's so jacked up. Will Levis is my long shot, just like Tremble was in the other game. Levis plus 650 on FanDuel to score.
I like that. He at least can scoot. He's got some athleticism to him. He can scoot.
And if you look in college, his last year in college, he only had about 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns, I believe. But his offensive line was horrible that year. The previous year with a better O-line in the prior year in college, he had like 9 rushing TDs. So he is willing to run. He is willing to run if he's protected. So
To be fair, the Titans offensive line is also horrible.
They are trash. They are trash.
So,
Yeah, they are trash. I will give you that. So maybe not so hot, but that's why it's a long shot, and that's why you're getting those odds, because the books know it's unlikely to happen. But
I mean, listen, it's plus 650. If someone's going to try and say, here's a reason why a plus 650 bet won't hit, it's like, yeah, no shit. There's like a 15% win percentage associated with this. Wow, you're a genius. People always, this is like, I always laugh. I'll do a pumped up prop I've been doing it for the NBA as well. And people will comment like, I don't think that play's hitting. It's like, well, yeah, it's plus 400, dude. Like that doesn't take the most bold thing, and it's not the most bold stance in the world.
That's the point. That's why you're betting it. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I won't talk to you. I'll sprinkle a quarter unit on Will Levis to score. All right, next game, my Eagles versus Commanders. I will go first on this one. I have 2 plays. I do like the Commanders on the main line. I feel like they always play the Eagles hard, always. Yeah. The only time they didn't recently was last year when Carson Wentz played quarterback, and Carson Wentz playing quarterback is not a real human being playing quarterback at this point in his career. Other than that, they play the Eagles tough. They played them tough earlier this year. They played like a month ago, October 1st, and Eagles won in overtime. It was Sam Howell's best game of his career. The Eagles are coming off of an emotional victory against the Dolphins that they clearly cared a lot about. You could tell after the game how pumped up they were. They were playing dreams and nightmares in the locker room, which you don't do after a normal regular season win. Next week, the Eagles play the Cowboys. So this is like sandwiched. This Commanders game is sandwiched between 2 very important games that the Eagles have circled on their calendar. So I could see this being a game that they just look a little bit sloppy, kind of like the Browns 2 weeks ago. Or sorry, the 49ers against the Browns 2 weeks ago, where the 49ers just smashed the Cowboys and then they came out and laid an egg. I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar here. And the Commanders are coming off of that disgusting loss to the Giants where they scored 7 points. So everybody is going to be out on them. Everybody is going to be doubting them. So I do really like the Commanders to cover the spread. You can get +7 at -110 basically at anywhere. Excuse me. I also have a pumped up prop. This is my 3rd of 4. AJ Brown, 125 plus receiving yards, +285 odds at Caesars. This is almost strictly narrative based, but he's hit 125 or more receiving yards in 5 straight games. That tied the record for most games with that many receiving yards, tied with Calvin Johnson. So if he gets 125 plus, he would literally break the record. And that's been all over the Philadelphia media this past week, is that the fact that he could break the record. They asked him about it. They asked Nick Sirianni about it last week. They all said the right things. But what I know about Nick Sirianni is he is very, very aware of these narratives. Like Dallas Goedert had a really slow first month of the year. Week 5, he had 100 yards and scored the opening touchdown. Week 2, AJ Brown had a quiet game. There was a little bit of a blow up on the sideline. Literally 5 straight games, he has gone 125 plus receiving yards since that happened. He's Jalen Hurts' favorite target. They have mastered the scramble drill. So even if the Commanders dedicate a ton of coverage to him, he's basically uncoverable. The Commanders defense is also terrible. They give up the 5th most passing yards per game. They have the 5th or 6th worst passing defense, according to DVOA. When these 2 teams played literally 4 weeks ago, exactly 4 weeks ago, AJ Brown had 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he literally caused them to bench the cornerback that guarded him in that game, but they haven't been any better since. So I know that was super long-winded, but that's my rationale for AJ Brown, 125 plus receiving yards. So that's my player prop there. What do you got in this one?
Oh man, I wish I'd consulted with you, my Eagles expert, before I did my ladder play, but I'm going to go with my gut here. So that's too large of a number for the Eagles. But if you want to put Eagles in a money line or tease them down to like 2.5 or something, that's probably the route I'm going to go. But I don't have anything official on the main markets. My prop though, favorite isolated single prop main line, Devonta Smith over 50.5 yards at BetMGM -115. I know he has not been the model of consistency lately, and which sucks. I really like him a lot. AJ's been such a beast. But it's because of everything you said. I'm not going to repeat it. Just all the deficiencies in the secondary of the Commanders. And because, yes, they are going to say, we don't want to get torched by AJ. I always like these plays where you find and this is the thing. I like these teams where it's like Waddle, Hill, Smith, AJ Brown, where your number 2 basically is a number 1. They could be a number 1 on some other team, right? So this isn't like, the inferior wide receiver 2. You're hoping they step up. It's like he's a legit stud. And so for him to catch 51 yards for me when I know that much attention is going to be paid to AJ, I love that line at over 50.5. I'm going to take that. And I pounded it for $115 to win 100. I'm just going full unit on that one. This was my pumped up ladder. And I thought, because I didn't know about that piece, but I'm still going to stick with it, I laddered Devonta up to 100 yards. So I'm going to sprinkle. You use your risk tolerance, guys. But I skipped 60 because I'm already betting 50.5.
Sure.
Starting at 80, I started laddering. I did 80, 90, 100, and I sprinkled a little bit all the way up to 100. So that's my main bet. And the other one I had was this is out there. So if you want to be DGen, I think AJ's obviously a safer play just because of his stats. But I went Devonta Smith most receiving yards today in the entire NFL slate.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like it.
Just because everyone's going to be on AJ, that's my opinion. If there's someone who's going to be that sleeper, it's going to be in this game against a horrible secondary. And I'll go Devonta to hopefully beat AJ Brown somehow. I caught it at plus 5,000 on DraftKings. So just guys, like $5, $10. So if you want to degen Devonta Smith just because of the Commander's secondary problems and everyone being on AJ for that prop.
I really like that. So I went into this week being like, okay, I'm going to target Devonta because it's been a long time since he's been good. If there wasn't this narrative surrounding AJ Brown 125 plus, I would have laddered Devonta. So I'm saving that for next week. I think next week when AJ Brown blows up again this week against the Cowboys,
that's when he'll be the squeaky wheel.
Exactly. So all right, we can move on there. All right, I think this is the last of the 1 p.m. games. The beginning of the 4 p.m. games. Browns versus Seahawks. What do you got for this one? I'll let you go first here.
I'm going to spare you nothing. I look, man, the Seahawks are solid. The Browns D is solid, but there's so many moving pieces with the Browns, right? I have no feel for this game. So this is my pass for the day. I got nothing for you. Nothing on the main lines, nothing for the props. I scratched my head trying to figure this out. And I just felt like I was throwing darts. So I said, I'm not going to waste people's money. So I'm passing on this one totally. So it's all on you on this one. So.
Sure. This is my 4th and final pumped up prop. I have Amari Cooper, 80 plus receiving yards, plus 320 at DraftKings. Mark Cooper at this point, he's kind of always been like this. Is like the ultimate boomer bust receiver. So he's played 6 games so far this year. Here are his receiving yardage numbers. 37 in week 1. Then he had 90 and 116. Then he had 16 yards. And that was when the rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson DTR started and was clearly overmatched. Mm-hmm. Then he had 108 with PJ Walker against the 49ers. And then last week he had 22. So it's like he's boom, he's bust, he's all of the above. But he's always getting targets. And last week he had 8 targets and only had 2 receptions. So to me, that's like the first or a great opportunity to buy low. It's similar to my Cooper Kupp thing. It's just betting the opposite of what recently happened. His main line is at 50.5, but literally every single time this year he's cleared that, he's gotten to 80. So it almost doesn't make sense to just take the main line. You should ladder it in some way, pump it up a little bit. I don't care if it's PJ Walker or Deshaun Watson. The Seahawks have a pretty not great passing defense. They give up 235 per game, which is 21st. Overall, they have the 19th ranked passing defense with the 3rd best rushing defense. And the Browns, probably not like banged up running backs, probably not going to have a ton of success running the ball. So with 8 targets last week, he's consistently getting targets. Props.cash, my last point here, also has him at 80. So they match the projection there as well. So that's my 4th and final pumped up prop on this one. The way I have it is if AJ Brown is the only one that hits, then we will be slightly down. If any other player hits, then we will be up. So if we get 2, then it's easily up. So nice. Let's hope for that. But yeah, that's what I got in this one.
Gotcha.
All right, let's move on. Ravens versus Cardinals. Another 425 game. What do you have here?
Easy. Ravens minus 9.5. No hesitation. Absolutely no hesitation. And yes, it is. Is that a large number? Hell yes, it's a large number. But you know what you have? You basically have the top DVOA team or one of the top DVOA teams versus one of the bottom ones. Okay. And I know there was a little bit of shine to the Cardinals in the first few games. It was kind of a shocker. All that shine is wore off, guys.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm not even going to overthink this one. I don't care. I'll live with it if somehow there's some backdoor cover. I don't see any way but the Ravens steamrolling this team. So I'm not even going to overthink this one. Ravens -9.5, -110 is where I got it at.
Okay.
Pretty much everywhere you can get it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually got them at -8.5 at -115 at BetMGM. That's still currently available. So if you guys want to take this now, take them 8.5 at
right now. I'm going to rebet it. I'm not even joking you. -8.5 is a beautiful number. Look at that. Yeah. -8.5.
Yeah. I agree with you. We go through these picks separately. So there's we don't influence one another. I have the same thing. I have the Ravens. Let's see. My notes are, if I pull them up for 1 second. I think this is going to be a massacre. The Seahawks aren't really that feisty team anymore after their start to the season. They're just downright bad. And the Ravens, I think, proved how good they can be last week against the Lions. And that was their best offensive game of the year by far. Even if they're a little bit more clunky on offense, more so what they've been the majority of the year, I still think they can annihilate the Cardinals, who are just simply bad. So, yeah, it's funny that we're both fully on the Ravens. Despite not even consulting. But yeah, that's my play. I love the Ravens in this one as well.
Not even close. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah. All right, we can move on. Chiefs Broncos. So I'll go first here. I have an under. This is the first snow game of the year. I can give you boots on the ground in Denver is not very fun weather. It's
really? Okay.
Yeah, it's less than 20 degrees right now. It's going to be high 20s by the time the game starts. Apparently, Pat Mahomes is sick, so it's a flu plus weather game. Right now, the total is mostly offered everywhere at 46, basically -110 wherever you want to look. Caesars is the most common book. It was gross last time these two teams played. The Chiefs' offense, they had a good week last week. It's kind of like the Ravens. It's been hit or miss most of the year. It just hasn't looked quite the same. And in a gross weather game against a horrible team, the Broncos, I think that they're just going to play mostly ball control offense, just try to sneak out a victory without needing to do that much. Last time these two teams played, it went under by a pretty decent amount. Granted, that game was super windy. This is more so snow and cold. But I have the under on this one. I don't have a single player prop.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think I was looking at it, but I didn't officially have it. So I like it for everything you said. We know how atrocious the Broncos are. We know how notoriously slow, actually, and clock killing the Chiefs are. And as much as we've talked about it so many times, with Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, your first assumption, and most of the public are offensive powerhouses. Yes, they're powerhouses within that dynamic, but as a whole, this Chiefs team still has not figured out who else is going to be their offensive weapons. And Andy Reid just loves to just have these clock draining drives that last an eternity, like these 8-minute drive sometimes, that I totally see this being an under. So I do like that under. So you convinced me because I was on the fence about it, but I'm going to take the under as an official play. My only other play, I mean, it's a boom or bust. I'm going to warn you. So don't bet. I'm only going to bet a half unit on it. So don't bet too much. Is MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, over 15.5 receiving yards. Oof.
That's nothing.
It's nothing, but it's because he's boom or bust. But crazily, as much as the Broncos have sucked against the pass, they have a bunch of injuries. One of their main safety's gone. One of their corners are gone. They literally have nothing. So even if it's bad weather conditions, all it takes is one pass. And that's all he is. He's a guy who's going to run routes where he's going to be, I think depth of targeting about 12 yards out, somewhere like that. So give him one pass with maybe a couple yards of yak. It's going to take one pass to get MVS. So I'm betting on one pass to MVS, and that's it. I'm staying away from TD props just because I think this is going to be low scoring and ugly. Yeah,
I agree with you there. All right, we can move on here. Probably the best game of the day, 49ers versus Bengals. Finally a good game, the last of the 4 p.m. games.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first. What do you got in this one?
Ooh, okay. On this one, yeah, I'm going to keep this one simple as well. I know people are questioning, the 49ers, but with Purdy, because the latest I heard, Purdy's cleared now. So I
He's
mean,
playing. He's playing.
I was actually going to go the other side when things were at like +5.5 for the Bengals, but now that it's moved now where you can even get them, it's smashed down to +4.5, and on the 49er side, it's down to -4. I'm actually just going to go 49ers -4. I mean, with Purdy back in it, I know that there's still injury concerns with Debo and some of the line, but I have not seen anything at all to tell me that I should have faith in the Bengals versus a good team. And now San Francisco has been looking vulnerable. They're not looking like the juggernaut that's undefeatable. But you know what? I think people are overreacting to the Vikings game. So if Purdy's in, which it sounds like he is, I'm simply going to go 49ers -4. I don't want to overthink it, just like the Ravens game.
Sure. I actually am on the opposite side of you. I'm on the Bengals on this one. This is when the Bengals make their run. They always start bad the first basically 2 months of the year, and then they make the run in the second half. This is probably the most healthy Burrow's been, and they're coming off of a bye, so he's finally getting healthy. 49ers, I don't know, like that's 2 straight games where Brock Purdy hasn't looked good, and this is after looking incredible against the Cowboys. So it's like, which one is he? He's not quite, the ridiculous boomer bust, but the whole thing with Brock Purdy is that he just runs the offense and he runs it well, but it's 2 straight games where he's looked shaky. That's also coincided with the 49ers being banged up, which is probably part of it. I don't want to make too big of a deal because like Trent Williams, their best offensive lineman, has been out. And just from an Eagles fan, like when Lane Johnson's out, Jalen Hurts does not look as good. So it's not as though I'm saying Brock Purdy's bad, but if they're banged up and he needs a better system around him, there's like nothing wrong with that. But that might not be the case. And the Bengals defense, they always have a good game plan, which I love. It's like that's what their defensive coordinator, Lou Amarillo, whatever is, I forget how to pronounce his last name, is famous for, is crafting these specific game plans per opponent. And the 49ers, their offense is basically just finding open receivers and just out scheming you. And I think the Bengals will be able to stop that. And I do think that Burrow will be able to have a similar game that Kirk had. I mean, they basically won mostly with the short game, aside from the long bomb touchdown to Jordan Addison, who's awesome. So I think this is like a lot of targets to Jamar Chase, a lot of targets probably to T. Higgins. So I like the Bengals on this one. I'm actually going opposite of you.
Gotcha. What do you think about CMC? What is it, tying the record for touchdown streaks, right, in consecutive games?
Yeah, he scored I think 20 straight or 19 straight at this point. I forget the number.
I can't remember. I think if he gets it today, maybe it'd be 18th straight or something.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's -175 if that's best offered at Fliff. If you don't use Fliff, -200 at Caesars. Means he's probably going to get it just because he scores every single week. If you want to put that in a parlay, like if you like the 49ers, just parlay McCaffrey and 49ers, and you could probably get that for pretty reasonable odds.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, last game, your Bears against the Chargers. Just an electric Sunday Night Football game. I'm so happy the NFL gave this to us on Sunday Night Football. We needed these 2 teams, these not conference in the same conference rivals. The Chargers, who perpetually disappoint. The Bears, who haven't really been good since like 2018. Thank you for making it a Sunday Night Football game. What do you got in this one?
Oh my God. I'm not going to lie. I think I've been successful on betting on the Chargers once this season and got screwed by them once. I have actually been pretty bad at the few times I've faded my Bears. It's been the couple times they've actually won a damn game. So to me, this is destiny and luck telling me do not bet anything on the main market for this. But just because it's my home team, I will sprinkle like half a unit. I should say quarter, but I'm emotionally betting. I'm warning all of you. Bears +9.5, because that's a large number where, God, you have Justin fucking Herbert and you cannot score for some reason, but
their Chargers are terrible.
They're terrible. So 9.5's a lot. And I'm not going to lie. Look, Tyson Bagent is not some messiah, but I like the fact that this kid has swag. I mean, he almost reminds me of like a 1980s, like Jim McMahon for the 85. I mean, in terms of like, he's like pumped up. He's like the opposite of Cutler, where he's like emotional. He's getting everyone like revved up. He's rocking the sleeve with tats. He's kind of got this swag to him. He kind of has like rejuvenated, like, for whatever it's worth. That maybe it's an overstatement, but like people are excited in Chicago. They're like, let's have a fun game and just actually toss the damn ball around a little bit. So 9.5's a lot. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on Bears plus 9.5. Oh God, but this could, yeah. So I got a couple things. I got Justin Herbert over 264.5 passing yards. Man, if you can't cross that number against one of the worst secondaries, then you should just pack it up for the season. You really should. So Justin Herbert over 264.5 passing yards. Okay. I am going to go DJ Moore anytime touchdown, just because they were force feeding the guy. And Bajan was not shy about force feeding this guy. And if he could score on someone, it's going to be against the Chargers. So that's all I got. A little sprinkle on my Bears to cover the spread. Justin Herbert over 264.5 passing yards, minus 110 on FanDuel. And then DJ Moore to score a touchdown. That's all I got for the late night game.
All right. I actually am backing the Chargers on this one. There's no worse feeling than taking the Chargers to win a big spread. I get it. You're basically tempting fate and you're asking God to kick you right in the nards. But I just, it's what I'm doing. And the Bears won big against the Raiders last week, but
the Raiders suck.
The Raiders suck. And it's not like Tyson Badgett looked that good. His ADOT is basically every single pass is at the line of scrimmage. I don't know. To me, that was not a sustainable way to live.
No, he passed to DJ Moore. I think depth of target was like 2-3 yards, like a million checkdowns. And it was basically DJ Moore's athleticism and 8,000 missed tackles by the Ravens, basically.
And look, that could happen again. The Chargers are a joke. They're 2-4. I don't think people really process that. They're 2-4. They're terrible. But I think this is going to be a game where Tyson Badgett shows that he's like a undrafted 6th round, whatever rookie. And this did not make my official ladder video, but I am also laddering Austin Eckler receptions. So I'm taking him 5+, 6+, and 7+. This is a squeaky wheel treatment. He came out after last week. I think he only had I forget the number, but he did not have a lot of targets and he was annoyed. He's like 3 weeks back from that from the ankle injury, which is like, even when you return, it can take a little bit. So yeah, he had 2 targets last week and he had 1 reception and he was pissed. So I think they're going to give him the ball a ton on this one. I decided receptions just because maybe it's like a bunch of dump downs. And Mike Williams is hurt. Their other receiver, Josh Palmer, has been banged up. I'm not sure if he's going to play. I'm pretty sure he's questionable.
Yeah, he's questionable, I think. Yeah.
The rookie, Quentin Johnston, has not looked good at all. He can't do anything. He looks like Jalen Reagor, basically. Like, he doesn't know where to be. He can't catch the ball. He runs terrible routes. So I also could be sold on like a 20-target Keenan Allen game. His numbers are just so high. It's like his receiving yards is 81.5. His receptions is 7.5. So even if you ladder it, it just already starts at such a high number. I could also be sold on their tight end. What's his face? Whose name is totally escaping me, but FanDuel isn't even giving him yards, giving him props for that.
Everett?
Yeah, Everett. I couldn't remember his name. I forgot to write it down. I could also be sold on that, but I am myself going with Austin Eckler.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, he's got over 3.5 receptions at juiced odds, which that's pretty juiced. But yeah, even if you went alt, even just simply to like 5, you're going to get plus money odds everywhere. So
yeah. All right. That's every single game. It's time for degeneracy. I think you laddered Devonta Smith and you laddered Alvin Kamara Jalen Warren.
Jalen Warren receptions, and Devonta Smith yards. Yep.
Okay, so we agreed on Kamara, so let's add him to our parlay that we did get to pass, or excuse me, we got to cash last week, so no big deal. So if you're riding with us, definitely make sure to do that. So Alvin Kamara plus 5.5 is plus 118 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
All right. I had a decent amount that I laddered. 4 official ones were AJ Brown yards, CJ Stroud passing, George Pickens and Amari Cooper receiving. And then I also took Cooper Kupp receptions and I took Austin Eckler. receptions.
I'd say let's combine Kamara because we both like that a lot.
Yeah, so Kamara, that's definitely the first leg. Kamara over
Yeah.
5.5 at plus 118.
Between the two on the Eagles, I like just because of consistency, even though I like Devonta for my prop, but because of consistency and the narrative, that's what sways me. Let's pick a line for AJ to throw in with Kamara. I like that. So where should we throw AJ yards?
So his main line is 90.5.
Ooh, wow.
If you get 100 plus, it's plus 126. What we could also do, excuse me, is AJ Brown reception. So maybe like they try to force feed him and it doesn't work out. So you can get 7 plus receptions at plus 116. So if we want to just do a little bit different than yards, we could do receptions. Like maybe they give him a bunch of screens, a bunch of bubble screens, stuff like that, slants, just to try to hope he breaks one. I could be swayed either way. We do 100 plus at plus 126, or we do 7 plus receptions.
Let's just go with the 100. Let's go 100 plus yards.
Okay.
Like let's hope he gets like one deep one to even make up a chunk of that. So
sure.
So AJ 100. Okay.
All right. So
and I like CJ. I say I feel really
Stroud.
I like Stroud. I really like. I just think if there's a game to throw pointless yards, this is the game to just show out against the guy who got drafted above you. You know, so I like the CJ angle too.
All right, CJ Stroud. We could do 250 plus at plus 124.
Ooh, that's juicy. They're giving us that much at plus 250 at just 250 yards.
Yeah.
That's juicy. Okay.
Breaking news. Apparently, I didn't know this. Apparently, it is Tank Dell's birthday. So if you want to get him to score a touchdown, it's plus 270. Not necessarily for a parlay, just to take straight up.
Yeah. It's his birthday. Huh? I'm making notes right now.
All right. So right now we have this at plus 1,000. Do we just do the 3-leg?
We don't have with that.
Right.
Plus 1,000. And none of those are absurd. That's the thing, right? Like none of these three are absurd in themselves. So that's why if we're going to get plus 1,000 and 3 solid, doable like props, man, I think we just take it and not test fate at that point.
All right. I put a quarter unit on it.
I like it.
Let me just.
Yeah. Wow. That is great odds.
All right. So did you have a like a FanDuel promo DGen one, or was it the Devonta Smith leads the day, or was it leads the entire week 8? I forget the exact stat.
It was, I think it's just leads today, like his top receiving yards of the day to Devonta Smith plus 5,000. Okay. That's one of the ones I liked. And then let me scroll real quick to see, because I had a couple of those were my long shots already, Tremble and Levis. So I don't want to go nuts on one of those like plus 20 something thousand ones. So I will say, and I know I'm starting to sound a little repetitive, but I actually think that here's one right now, and then I'll end with this. It is plus, I know we tried last time. I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'm going to give it up, guys. Okay. We tried to do the rushing touchdowns. God, if you were on the text chain with me and Matt last time, in the first quarter of the 1 p.m. slate, right there, we had like 4 or 5 teams get rushing touchdowns like this. We were almost halfway there for a plus 30 something thousand, and then it just died off. So
yeah,
one last time, guys, just the 1 p.m. games, only the 1 p.m.s, not the others. Okay. So I know there's multiple variations, only the 1 p.m. games. One last time, rushing touchdowns, every team rushing touchdowns plus 31,000. Okay.
31,000.
Yeah. $5. Okay. $5.
I will say the difference here is that there are more teams playing in the 1 p.m. slate than last week, but also the odds are better. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. And because, again, last week I had a rationale because there were less in the slate. It made sense to me. This week, as you heard us say several times, these are nasty games. Okay. And a lot of these games, these teams are so offensively inept that rushing it in may be their only option. Like there are some teams where like I don't see how any way besides like a QB sneak or QB trotting in or some dumb luck play where they somehow fumble themselves into the red zone with a goal line play where they have their running back who's not even a good running back. Like there are several of these games today. Like case in point, Jets Giants, right? I mean, there's a bunch of these nasty ones where maybe it's possible, but $5, guys, $5. I mean, I'm not even gonna go crazy this time. $5 on the plus 31,000. In addition to the other TD plays I gave out today.
I put 250 on it. So there you go.
There you go. All right.
All right. So to confirm our DGen parlay, I'll tweet this out as well. But if people still want to lock it in, Kamara 6+ receptions, AJ Brown 100+ receiving yards, CJ Stroud 250+ passing yards. It's almost exactly plus 1,000 at FanDuel. I put a quarter unit on it. We got last week. I'll tweet it out as well so you guys can see it. Well, let's make sure to get this week as well.
All right.
All right. Anything else for today, or are we good?
No, I think I'm good. I think my last comment is, guys, remember, gamble responsibly because it is an ugly slate. Matt and I try to find you some fun things to make an ugly slate fun, but this could be brutal today. So strap in and buckle in, and in 53 minutes, we'll see how brutal it is.
That's a good point. Gamble responsibly. I don't think I put more than one unit on any play today. Most of it is like quarter, half unit plays. Andrew's got slugging some Dunkin' coffee. We will end it here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you ride with us on the parlay, tweet at us. Let us know. We'll make sure to retweet everything so we can get a nice group ride going. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We will catch you next time.